if God has brought me and my family here, so I think He is the one who's going to take care of everything in my life. So I just believe in the Lord, and I'm just I'm just thankful to the Almighty.
It says a lot about you, Aparna ji. It says a lot about Brigadier Purohit, the kind of struggle that you have been through at each court. And I remember today, it's a vindication, it's a victory. But every hearing in the Supreme Court, every High Court, I remember, in fact, the first time I was also trying to speak to him, he was in prison. He'd been brought to the Bombay High Court. He wanted to give an interview, but there were so many others who wanted their words heard. There was so much politics and a horror that was surrounding the entire thing. What a victory, ma'am, for India. What a victory for you. We thank you for spending time with us. And please do convey to Brigadier Purohit from all of us at Republic TV, especially our editor-in-chief, Arnab, the biggest congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm really overwhelmed with all the response that I'm getting and the love that I'm getting from everyone. So I'm really overwhelmed with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for speaking to Republic.
Thank you. Thank you.
हेलो लेडीज, आपके लिए है ये कंफर्टेबल सोफा, गर्मा गर्म चाय और वाईफाई। आराम फरमाइए, क्योंकि हमारा लेटेस्ट लिनन फैब्रिक कलेक्शन है ही ऐसा। वो क्या है ना, इन्हें देखने में और दिखाने में थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा। बंदों को लिनन पसंद है तो पसंद है। लिनन बाय अरविंद।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आरती और मसाला।
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Republic TV. I'm Gesu Bharadwaj, and viewers, Republic brings you a super exclusive report. India-flagged LPG vessel Green Asha has safely arrived at the Mumbai port yesterday. Green Asha is carrying about 15,400 tons of liquefied petroleum gas and has in fact successfully crossed the contentious Strait of Hormuz and reached the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Authority in Navi Mumbai amid the ongoing geopolitical tensions in West Asia. Our team brings you a ground report from when the vessel arrived in Mumbai. Take a look at this report that's brought to you by my colleague Minakshi, who's on ground zero.
You can see right behind me massive vessel Green Asha, which has arrived at JNPA port yesterday. Green Asha is the first LPG vessel which has reached JNPA since the conflict has begun, and it's carrying
15,400 tons of LPG, successfully navigated the volatile Strait of Hormuz, and it's a critical global oil transit point, and is safely crossed Strait of Hormuz and arrived now anchored. You can see exclusive visuals only on Republic TV. You can see the Green Asha, which has anchored at JNPA port. And port officials confirmed that the vessel and cargo and all crew members are safe. And it's very important for India and the continuity of the supply of LPG and the safe arrival of Green Asha, which is strengthen the LPG availability in the country and bring some relief on the supply front. Indian government is closely monitoring the situation, and especially amid rising geopolitical tension in the region and the importance of the uninterrupted energy supplies. You can see this is Green Asha, which has arrived in Mumbai yesterday. And what makes this journey particularly significant is that the ship has safely navigated through the strategically important Strait of Hormuz. Exclusive visuals only on Republic TV. We are reporting from JNPA port, and we are only channel showing you the massive vessel LPG tanker Green Asha, which has arrived at JNPA in Mumbai.
Viewers, now it has been a US President Donald Trump versus the NATO alliance since the war began on the 28th of February, and the contention broke over the US President alleging that NATO did not support the United States in its war against Iran. Now, German Chancellor Merz says that this allegation, this rift that's been ongoing for so long, can split up the NATO alliance and even fracture the alliance that is a security guarantor. Listen in to everything that's unfolding.
Nach langem Schweigen, für das es auf unserer Seite schwerwiegende Gründe gab, nehmen wir als Bundesregierung jetzt auch die Gespräche mit Teheran wieder auf. Wir tun das in Abstimmung mit den Vereinigten Staaten und den europäischen Partnern. Unser Ziel ist, auf diesem Weg auch einen eigenen Beitrag zum Erfolg der anstehenden Verhandlungen zu leisten.
Germany has resumed talks with Iran. Chancellor Friedrich Merz said, marking a renewed diplomatic push coordinated with Washington and European partners. Speaking in a statement on the situation in the Middle East, Merz said the federal government, which has re-engaged with Tehran after a prolonged period of silence, which he attributed to serious reasons on Germany's part.
Wir haben auch über die Zukunft der NATO gesprochen in unserem Telefonat gestern. Ich habe ihm angeboten, dass wir uns vor dem NATO-Gipfel in Ankara, der Anfang Juni stattfinden wird, auch noch einmal über die Zukunft der NATO miteinander verständigen. Und es ist meine feste Absicht, alles zu tun, um auch den Schutz der NATO unter Einschluss der Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika für Europa zu erhalten. Dieses Bündnis ist jedenfalls gegenwärtig durch nichts zu ersetzen, und deswegen habe ich ein hohes Interesse daran, es zu erhalten und es mit dem amerikanischen Präsidenten fortzuentwickeln.
Merz put his foot down, saying that Germany does not want NATO to split. The war has put intense strain on NATO. The NATO is already shaken over the war in Ukraine and other issues. Trump has repeatedly called the alliance a paper tiger and threatened to withdraw from the alliance in recent weeks.
Ich habe Präsident Trump gestern erneut in unserem Gespräch gesagt, dass wir bereit sind, nach einem Friedensschluss mitzuhelfen, zum Beispiel die Durchfahrt durch die Straße von Hormuz zu sichern. Präsident Trump weiß, dass das für Deutschland zwei Voraussetzungen hat. Die erste Voraussetzung ist, wir brauchen dazu ein internationales Mandat, am besten des UN-Sicherheitsrates. Zweitens, wir brauchen dazu einen Beschluss des Deutschen Bundestages auf der Basis einer Entscheidung der Bundesregierung. Das weiß der amerikanische Präsident, und deswegen sind von uns innerhalb weniger Tage hier keine Entscheidungen zu erwarten. Das müssen wir vorbereiten.
Merz said he told Trump that Germany was prepared to help secure the Strait of Hormuz once a long-term ceasefire was agreed. We are doing so in coordination with the United States and our European partners. Our aim is thereby to contribute to the success of the forthcoming negotiation, Merz added.
Viewers, now Pakistan is facing embarrassment one after the other. In fact, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif had to take down a post that he issued on his social media platform X, where he not only battered Israel, but he also called Israel an evil anti-humanitarian state, while also issuing racist remarks, anti-Semitic remarks against the Israeli state. Now, Israel, shortly after that post was made, gave a huge diplomatic rebuttal to Pakistan. In fact, also questioned whether or not Pakistan is fit enough to mediate between the warring sides, Israel, United States and Iran. Take a look at this.
A sharp diplomatic confrontation between Pakistan and Israel. Khwaja Asif, Defence Minister of Pakistan, who claims mediation in peace talks, triggered it. After continuous bombardment in Lebanon, which Israel claims is the targeting of Hezbollah hideouts, Khwaja Asif made a post. Asif described Israel as evil and a curse for humanity. He called it a cancerous state, remarks that Israel condemned as blatant anti-Semitic rhetoric. Israel has hit back strongly, warning that such statements are blatant anti-Semitic blood libels from a country positioning itself as a mediator in ongoing peace efforts. Israel's response was immediate and unsparing. Israel said it will defend itself against terrorists who vow its destruction. Pakistan and Israel have no formal diplomatic relations. Islamabad has historically aligned itself with the Palestinian cause and does not recognize Israel as a state. But Khwaja Asif's comments are particularly jarring for those who had placed any hopes in Islamabad's mediation role.
It's Republic Mega Exclusive. AIADMK General Secretary Edappadi Palaniswamy has spoken to our editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami on Nation Wants to Know, says AIADMK will get the majority votes, predicts that NDA wave in assembly elections is going to sweep through the state of Tamil Nadu that goes to polls for assembly elections.
Saying you could form the government on your own without the BJP also. If you were confident that AIADMK can come to power on its own, why did you have an alliance with the BJP in the state election?
கூட்டணி என்பது அவ்வப்போது நடக்கின்ற தேர்தலை பொறுத்து தான். திமுக தலைமையில் ஒரு கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறாங்க. அதேபோல் அண்ணா திமுக தலைமையில் நாங்கள் ஒரு கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். எங்கள் கூட்டணியை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகம் ஒரு ஊழல் நிறைந்த அரசாங்கமாக இன்றைக்கு இருக்குது. மக்களோட ஆட்சி இன்றைக்கு தமிழகத்தில் நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்குது. அதனால் ஒத்த கருத்துடைய கட்சிகள்லாம் ஒன்றாக இணைந்து இந்த தேர்தலில் திமுகவை அகற்ற வேண்டும், திமுக ஆட்சி அகற்ற வேண்டும் என்ற அடிப்படையில் நாங்கள் கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். ஒரு நல்ல ஆட்சி தமிழகத்தில் மக்களுக்கு கிடைக்க வேண்டும் என்ற அடிப்படையில் எங்களுடைய கூட்டணி அமையப்பட்டது.
But the popular feeling is that in the 2024 general elections, both BJP did badly and AIADMK did badly. Then you realized that you needed each other to win. So was this a result of the poor performance in the 24 Lok Sabha
24 election, central election, it's not state election. இது மத்தியில் யார் ஆட்சிக்கு வர வேண்டும் என்ற ஒரு தேர்தல் தான் நடைபெற்றது. அந்த தேர்தலில் அதிமுக பாரதிய ஜனதா கூட்டணி அமைக்கலை. ரெண்டு பேரும் கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருந்தா குறைஞ்சபட்சம் 20 இடங்களை நாங்கள் வென்றிருப்போம். நாங்கள் கூட்டணி அமைக்கல. ஆனால் அதே 2019ஆம் ஆண்டு இதே நிலை தான் இருந்தது. 2021 சட்டமன்ற பொதுத் தேர்தலில் 75 இடங்கள் அதிமுக வெற்றி பெற்றது சட்டமன்றத்தில். அதே போல் 2024 நாடாளுமன்ற பொதுத் தேர்தலில் அதிமுக கூட்டணி வாங்கின ஓட்டு, பாரதிய ஜனதா தலைமையில் அமைக்கப்பட்ட கூட்டணி வாங்கின இரண்டையும் ஒன்றாக இணைத்தால் 99 இடங்களில் சட்டமன்றத்தில் நாங்கள் வெற்றி பெற்றிருக்கிறோம்.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जल जीरा जीरा से
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी every day.
We are entering a very dangerous inflection point in this war. From here in onwards, either things could escalate beyond control or there could be a surprise ceasefire. He is very fond of trying to make the world hang on to his every word, pearls of wisdom, but the last speech was a great disappointment. Everybody was hoping that he would announce an off-ramp, a ceasefire, and then finish this war, because the world is sick and tired of the shenanigans of Donald Trump and his mad capers, his insane wars in the Middle East, which have created a global economic disaster which will worsen by the day, by every day that this war continues beyond its use-by date. It is only heading towards greater destruction of the global economy. The simple fact is, Donald Trump used the worst expletives possible to show his frustration, to show his extreme annoyance and irritation at Iran as to why Iran was not surrendering. Iran told him simply, you may be finished, we are not, and we will continue to fight. And don't give us through Pakistan a set of terms of surrender. Lay down your arms, give us your nuclear material, dismantle your own missile arsenal, make yourself totally helpless and dependent so that we can enjoy bombing you anytime we want some diversion or some sport. You know, that is the kind of language that he has used. You expect such a ceasefire offer to be accepted? You must be out of your mind. The simple fact is that Iran said an absolute blunt no. You may be finished, we are not. That is the clear implication of what Iran has said. Now, is Donald Trump prepared to go on? We have had a series of bad news emerging from Iran. The chief of the United States Central Command had said, we have total air supremacy over Iran. We can fly at will, bomb anything that moves, and Iran is totally helpless and supine at our feet. Famous last words. Within days, we found American aircraft getting shot out of the skies. 2 F-35s, 2 F-15s, shot out from the air, one Warthog A-10 ground attack aircraft, you see. And then if you count the aircraft on the ground, one AVAC Sentry A-3 AVAC aircraft, very, very expensive aircraft worth a couple of almost 300 to 400 million, was shot off at the Al Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, along with 4 KC-135 refueler tankers, Boeing tankers, destroyed on the ground. And pictures of that those destroyed aircraft were taken from the satellites and put everywhere. America is asking the Maxar, the commercial firms, not to show satellite pictures of their destroyed aircraft and the damage that has been done to Israel and to their air bases. But the Chinese are doing it, and the Iranians are spreading it with great glee. So then we had, over the last 48 hours, there was something that happened which is pretty unique. You know, whenever there is a break in pattern, you can make out something is cooking. Donald Trump stayed off the television cameras for almost 2 whole days, Saturday and Sunday. That is amazing for Donald Trump. He just can't stay off the TV cameras. He must give minute by minute running commentaries on how the war is going, how he is directing it so superbly, and he is doing everything single-handed. What a genius. You see, the simple fact is, when he was off, when he went off there was something suspicious. Then we subsequently pieced together that he was being briefed and he was involving himself in the planning and the execution of a very special operation. The operation was to rescue the downed pilot, ostensibly to rescue the downed pilot of the F-15 weapons officer, Lieutenant Colonel, right? And he was down. The pilot had been rescued within a few hours. This man was missing for almost 48 hours. And a major operation had been launched. And this operation has been, I mean, one must admit, a fairly remarkable success, despite the very great odds of going 200 kilometers behind enemy-held territory and trying to rescue a pilot. It speaks of the skill of the special forces and the American techniques of combat search and rescue operation, CSAR, combat search and rescue. They've got very good drills and they showed them on display. They were able to rescue the pilot, which is a great plus, a great thumbs up, certainly something to be proud of for any armed forces. I'm sure there will be many Tom Cruise movies on this particular rescue. But but that aside, there was something curious. The scale of losses they suffered. To get out one man, America is almost...
NATO, and that should be well understood, we think, is a defensive alliance defending the territory of the members of the allies against external threats.
Ambassador, is there a sense of unease within the NATO allies right now?
I think it would be foolish to deny that there is a real tension in the alliance. It's about how to fulfill different objectives, the national American objectives, but also the collective ambitions of NATO.
Where is he? 4 घंटे से वेट कर रही हूँ उसका. कहाँ है वो?
अब भी गया.
Let's continue with the shirt.
Sure. बंदे को लिनन पसंद है तो पसंद है. बोलो आप क्या बनवाओगे? लिनन बाय अरविंद.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ.
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े. चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार.
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला.
अभी तो कह रहा था कि अभी चीफ मिनिस्टर कह रहे थे, उससे आगे भी सभी लोग कह रहे थे कि मणिपुर में पीस आ गया. ये पीस है क्या? अगर ये पीस है तो हमें ये पीस नहीं चाहिए हमें.
ये बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट 1:05 में हुआ है। उसमें 2 बच्चे का जान गया है। 2 बच्चा, एक 5 साल का है, एक लड़की है वो तो 5 महीना का है। ये बहुत छह इंसिडेंट है। उसका माँ भी अभी भी इंजर्ड है, हॉस्पिटल में ट्रीटमेंट के लिए घायल तरीके से इंजर्ड है। ये आतंकवादी लोग हम लोग को टारगेट कर रहा है, मैतेई लोग को। इसलिए सरकार से विनती है जल्द से ये
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
राजा आग और मसाला, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
should be well understood, we think, is a defensive alliance, defending the territory of the members of the allies against external threats.
Ambassador, is there a sense of unease within the NATO allies right now?
I think it would be foolish to deny that there is a real tension in the alliance. It's about how to fulfill different objectives, the national American objectives, but also the collective ambitions of NATO.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching The Verdict 2026. I'm Rakshita Mishra with you, and we have the top stories lined up for you. Stories that surround this election. The election fever is high. The election that has just happened, the voting that has just taken place in Assam, and the high-octane battle in Bengal, and also the super exclusive with AIADMK General Secretary, who's spoken to Republic TV's editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami. We'll bring you all of that and much more. AIADMK General Secretary EPS speaks to Arnab Goswami on Nation Wants to Know exclusive. Says AIADMK will get majority, predicts NDA wave in Tamil Nadu. BJP releases manifesto ahead of Bengal polls. Amit Shah says will wipe out fear and illegal infiltrators from Bengal. BJP promises the UCC, Uniform Civil Code implementation in Bengal, says that 7th Pay Commission and other policies of the centre will be implemented. AIMIM breaks alliance with Humayun Kabir's party in Bengal. Owaisi says integrity of Muslims brought into question.
It gives an indication, but nevertheless, I am happy. Original people, local people, the Indian people, Assamese people has finally started voting.
Incumbent Assam Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee says that voter turnout indicates Assamese people voted for BJP. So as the political chessboard in Tamil Nadu shifts yet again, alliance equations between the different parties, of course, have been now witnessing a transformation. And we talk about the BJP and the AIADMK in particular right now. They're back under the spotlight. Now, was the 2024 fallout avoidable? And did the leadership clashes play a role in the breakdown? In a candid conversation with Republic TV's editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami, AIADMK General Secretary Edapadi opens up on missed alliances, evolving equations, and his current equation with the BJP.
So you are saying that BJP should have done an alliance with you in 2024? So what was the situation then? Was it because of Annamalai? Is it because of Annamalai that the BJP AIADMK relationship had collapsed?
அண்ணாமலை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் எங்களோடு சுமூகமாக இயற்கையாக இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றார். அவர் பாரதிய ஜனதா பார்ட்டி இருக்கார். ஆகவே அந்த கட்சி வளருவதற்கு பாடுபட்டவர். அதோட தற்போது அதிமுக தேசிய ஜனநாயக கூட்டணி அமைக்கப்பட்ட பிறகு அவர் இந்த கூட்டணி வெற்றி பெறுவதற்கு கடினமான உழைப்பை தந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றார்.
How is your relationship with Annamalai now?
சார், அவர் பாரதிய ஜனதா பார்ட்டி, இது அதிமுக பார்ட்டி. அலைன்ஸு, அந்த அலைன்ஸ் ஏற்பட்டவுடன் அந்த கூட்டணி தர்மத்தின் அடிப்படையில் அவர் திரு அண்ணாமலை அவர்கள் தன்னால் முடிந்ததை இந்த கூட்டணி வெற்றி பெறுவதற்கு முழுமையாக ஒத்துழைப்பு கொடுக்கிறார், முழுமையாக உழைப்பை கொடுத்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றார்.
So that was about the alliance. Now party is very, very confident, says Palaniswamy, as he speaks to Republic TV's editor Arnab Goswami. He says that he's confident of forming the government on its own, even as it joins hands with the BJP. Palaniswamy defends the alliance, calling it a strategic move to defeat what he terms a corrupt and anti-people DMK government.
But you're saying you could form the government on your own without the BJP also?
எங்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அந்த நம்பிக்கை இருக்குது.
If you were confident that AIADMK can come to power on its own, why did you have an alliance with the BJP in the state election?
அதாவது கூட்டணி என்பது அவ்வப்போது நடக்கின்ற தேர்தலை பொறுத்து தான். திமுக தலைமையில் ஒரு கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறாங்க. அதேபோல் அதிமுக தலைமையில் நாங்கள் ஒரு கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். எங்கள் கூட்டணியை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகம் ஒரு ஊழல் நிறைந்த அரசாங்கமாக இன்றைக்கு இருக்குது. மக்கள் ஒரு ஆட்சி இன்றைக்கு தமிழகத்தில் நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்குது. அதனால் ஒத்த கருத்துடைய கட்சிகள்லாம் ஒன்றாக இணைந்து இந்த தேர்தலில் திமுகவை அகற்ற வேண்டும், திமுக ஆட்சி அகற்ற வேண்டும் என்ற அடிப்படையில் நான் கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருக்கிறோம். ஒரு நல்ல ஆட்சி தமிழகத்தில் மக்களுக்கு கிடைக்க வேண்டும் என்ற அடிப்படையில் எங்களுடைய கூட்டணி அமையப்பட்டது.
But the popular feeling is that in the 2024 general elections, both BJP did badly and AIDMK did badly. Then you realized that you needed each other to win. So was this a result of the poor performance in the 24 Lok Sabha
24 election, central election, it's not state election. இது மத்தியில் யார் ஆட்சிக்கு வர வேண்டும் என்ற ஒரு தேர்தல் தான் நடைபெற்றது. அந்த தேர்தலில் அதிமுக பாரதிய ஜனதா கூட்டணி அமைக்கலை. 2 பேரும் கூட்டணி அமைச்சிருந்தா குறைஞ்சபட்சம் 20 இடங்களை நாங்கள் வென்றிருப்போம். நாங்கள் கூட்டணி அமைக்கல. ஆனால் அதே 2019ஆம் ஆண்டு இதே நிலை தான் இருந்தது. 2021 சட்டமன்ற பொதுத் தேர்தலில் 75 இடங்கள் அதிமுக வெற்றி பெற்றது சட்டமன்றத்தில். அதே போல் 2024 நாடாளுமன்ற பொதுத் தேர்தலில் அதிமுக கூட்டணி வாங்கின ஓட்டு பாரதிய ஜனதா தலைமையில் அமைக்கப்பட்ட கூட்டணி வாங்கின இரண்டையும் ஒன்றாக இணைத்தால் 99 இடங்களில் சட்டமன்றத்தில் நாங்கள் வெற்றி பெற்றிருக்கிறோம்.
All right, now shifting focus to Bengal. The battleground Bengal, Home Minister Arnab Goswami unveiled the BJP's Sankalp Patra, the manifesto for the Bengal Assembly elections, laying out the party's roadmap for what it calls Sonar Bangla. The manifesto focuses on key issues, including infiltration, implementation of the Uniform Civil Code, and employment generation, and also women's welfare. With a mix of economic promises and strong political messaging, the BJP is looking to sharpen its campaign against the ruling 3MC. Take a look.
Amit Shah has officially launched the BJP Sankalp Patra for the 2026 West Bengal polls, outlining the party's vision for governance and development in the state. From infiltration and the Uniform Civil Code to employment and welfare, the BJP's campaign message remains focused on security, reform and economic growth.
ममता दीदी ने पूरे 3 टर्म भय, भेदभाव और भ्रष्टाचार, ये तीनों चीजों को प्रस्तापित करने में लगाया है, परंतु अब भाजपा के भरोसे के आधार पर बंगाल की जनता नया रास्ता ढूंढेगी। ये भरोसा है कानून के राज का, ये भरोसा है व्यक्तिगत और राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा का, ये भरोसा है रोजगार का, और ये भरोसा है सोनार बांग्ला के निर्माण का।
The manifesto, built around the idea of Sonar Bangla, lists 8 key promises announced during a press conference in Kolkata. Amit Shah said the manifesto outlines major commitments aimed at addressing governance gaps, boosting development and strengthening internal security. One of the key promises is the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code in the state within 6 months of coming to power.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी शासित कई राज्यों ने कॉमन सिविल कोड, यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड लागू किया है। हम 6 माह के अंदर ही बंगाल के अंदर यूसीसी को लागू कर सभी नागरिकों के लिए एक ही कानून बंगाल में हो, वो सुनिश्चित करेंगे।
He also stressed action against political violence, assuring that all such cases would be investigated.
सभी सरकारी कर्मचारियों व पेंशन भोगियों के लिए डीए सुनिश्चित किया जाएगा और 45 दिन के अंदर ही 7वें वेतन आयोग को लागू कर सभी कर्मचारियों का सम्मान करने का काम नई बनने वाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार करेगी।
मध्यम वर्ग और लोअर मिडिल क्लास और गरीब, वो सभी में महिलाओं की हालत बहुत दयनीय हुई है। जब तक ये गड्ढा नहीं भरता है तब तक भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार हर महीने 1 से 5 तारीख के अंदर 3,000 रुपया हर माता के बैंक अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर करेंगे।
The manifesto also promises financial support of 3,000 rupees per month for women beneficiaries along with targeted welfare measures. Taking a swipe at the Mamata Banerjee-led government, Amit Shah accused the Trinamool Congress of spreading fake videos. To tackle corruption at the grassroots level, the BJP has proposed ending syndicate culture and cracking down on the controversial cut money system. For government employees, the party has promised implementation of the 7th Pay Commission and clearance of pending dearness allowance dues.
सभी सरकारी कर्मचारियों व पेंशन भोगियों के लिए डीए सुनिश्चित किया जाएगा और 45 दिन के अंदर ही 7वें वेतन आयोग को लागू कर सभी कर्मचारियों का सम्मान करने का काम नई बनने वाली भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार करेगी।
The manifesto also focuses on employment with financial assistance for unemployed youth and a commitment to large-scale job creation. When it comes to healthcare and education, the BJP has promised to implement central schemes like Ayushman Bharat and expand access to public services. With a mix of welfare promises, governance reforms and sharp political attacks, the BJP's Sankalp Patra sets the tone for an intense electoral battle in West Bengal as campaigning gathers momentum.
And now on to viewers, the polling in Assam, the unprecedented turnout that was witnessed. This is coming in as we track all the latest updates. Himanta Biswa Sarma, the incumbent chief minister, spoke exclusively to Republic TV and exuded confidence on BJP's win in the state as he braces for a third straight term.
So what is this higher voter turnout is an indicative of?
You see, traditionally in Assam, immigrant Muslim votes very heavily and local people votes in a average way, 60-65%. And immigrant Muslims who lives in various riverine area, they used to vote 95%. Average was working out 95-65. But this time, the local Assamese people and even people from Barak Valley, they have voted heavily. In some center, they have even voted up to 95%. So it's a huge indication that in the democratic process, finally, the local Assamese people has also participated with lot of enthusiasm.
Can we say that this high voter turnout is an indication that BJP under the leadership of Himanta Biswa Sarma is heading for a massive win?
You see the additional votes which has been casted today definitely has come not from the pockets of immigrant Muslims area, because in those areas saturation was achieved long back. This time we have from the people of the indigenous Assamese people, the vote percentage has increased from those areas. So it's clearly signal which way the result will be, which way the result outcome will be. It's real. It gives an indication. But nevertheless, I am happy that original people, local people, the Indian people, Assamese people has finally started voting. That is more important.
For a larger audience, I would also like to switch to Hindi. आपने जो narrative चलाया था असम में घुसपैठ का और कई सारे मुद्दे थे, एनक्रोचमेंट, ये सब काम कर गया।
देखिए, चुनाव में हम ये सब का जिक्र भी नहीं किया था। मैं कोई सभा में घुसपैठी का बात नहीं बोला, मैंने कोई सभा में एनक्रोचमेंट का बात नहीं बोला। हमें चुनाव बहुत कामली हमने क्या किया क्या नहीं किया ये दिखाया। मैनिफेस्टो में हमने बोला कि घुसपैठी का खिलाफ हम काम करेगा। गृह मंत्री जी ने भी अपना भाषण में ये बातें बोला। लेकिन चुनाव ओवरऑल एक बहुत ही अच्छा माहौल में हुआ। कोई भी कंप्लेन नहीं हुए, किसी का कोई भाषण का खिलाफ एक भी कंप्लेन नहीं हुए कि आपने गलत बोला है, आपने ये नहीं बोलना सही है। कोई एमसीसी वायलेशन का किसी का ऊपर नोटिस भी नहीं हुए। ओवरऑल असम में चुनाव एक अच्छा माहौल में हुए। दोनों पक्ष का कैंडिडेट एक साथ भी कोई जगह में कैंपेन किया, एक साथ चाय पिए, वोटिंग में भी एक साथ गए। ये जो बाहर में एक इम्प्रेशन होता है कि बहुत एक हॉस्टाइल एनवायरनमेंट में चुनाव हुआ, वो नहीं, बहुत ही शांत और बहुत ही एक भव्य परिवेश में असम में चुनाव हुआ। किसी का ऊपर गलत बोलने का कोई भी एक कंप्लेन भी कहीं में नहीं किया।
जनरली जब हाई वोटर टर्नआउट होता है तब अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि ये एंटी इनकम्बेंसी है, लेकिन आज एक प्रो इनकम्बेंसी।
ये मैं आपको बताऊं ना, आपको दूसरा स्टेट में क्या होता है, एक ही समाज होते हैं। असम में देयर इज ए टू सोसाइटी who are originally from Assam, who came to Assam in last 50-60 years. Culture is different, pattern is different. So you have to, in context of Assam, you have to see where from this additional voting is coming, because the final voting percentage will be more. We don't have internet connectivity. Many reports are still pouring in. So the high voting percentage has come from the area who traditionally इतना ज़्यादा वोट नहीं देते थे। तो इसीलिए जो नेशनल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आप जो एनालिसिस करेगा, असम में ये एनालिसिस थोड़ा अलग होगा।
And now let's head to Bengal, where the heat is turning up, and Smriti Irani was there to campaign, launching a fierce attack on Mamata Banerjee's government. Now, from the allegations of political violence to claims of rising anti-incumbency, the BJP leader says that the ground mood is shifting decisively. She also pushed back against the outsider narrative, asserting that the BJP has a deep connect with Bengal's identity. Listen into this exclusive conversation my colleague Harsha had with Smriti Irani.
बंगाल के चुनाव की जंग शुरू हो चुकी है और स्टार कैंपेनर्स इस वक्त मैदान में हैं, जो कि कैंडिडेट्स के लिए प्रचार कर रहे हैं। हमारे साथ स्मृति ईरानी है, जो कि बीजेपी की स्टार कैंपेनर है, बंगाल में प्रचार कर रही है। स्मृति जी, अब आपको काफी टाइम हो चुका है बंगाल में प्रचार करते करते, काफी टाइम हो गया। पल्स क्या कह रहा है यहाँ पे जमीन?
जनता आपको संकेत दे रही है कि वो आहत है अन्याय के टीएमसी के राज से। जनता आपको ये संकेत दे रही है कि कट मनी वो देना नहीं चाहते। जनता विकास चाहती है, जनता चाहती है शांतिपूर्ण व्यवस्था बनी रहे, जनता चाहती है कि संविधान का संरक्षण हो, जनता चाहती है महिला का सम्मान हो। इसीलिए जनता इस बार भारतीय जनता पार्टी को अपना आशीर्वाद, अपना वोट देगी।
ये कहा जा सकता है स्मृति जी कि ये चुनाव कल्चर सेंटिमेंट वर्सेस नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, कल्चर सेंटिमेंट वर्सेस नेशनल सिक्योरिटी।
देखिए, बंगाल का कल्चरल सेंटिमेंट भी यही है कि महिला का सम्मान हो। बंगाल का कल्चरल सेंटिमेंट भी यही है कि राष्ट्र का सम्मान हो। बंगाल का कल्चरल सेंटिमेंट ये नहीं है कि कट मनी को बढ़ावा दिया जाए।
तो ये है जिस तरह से स्मृति ईरानी का प्रचार प्रसार हो रहा है, लेकिन जिस तरह से स्मृति ईरानी इस वक्त कैंडिडेट के साथ प्रचार प्रसार कर रही है और कह रही है कि जो पल्स है वो भाजपा के फेवर में नजर आ रहा है। लेकिन स्मृति जी चुनाव चल रहा है, लेकिन वायलेंस जो है वो कम नहीं हो रहा है। एक एक करके बीजेपी कैंडिडेट्स के यहाँ हिंसा की तस्वीरें आई है, इंसिडेंट्स नहीं रुक रहे। क्या देखती है, ये बेनिफिट में जाएगा भाजपा के?
बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने असीम प्रताड़ना सही है टीएमसी के राज में। कई ऐसे हमारे पुरुष कर्मी हैं जिनको फांसी दी गई, कई ऐसी महिला कर्मी हैं जिनको बाल से घसीट कर उनके साथ जिस प्रकार से अपमानजनक व्यवहार हुआ। कई भारतीय जनता पार्टी के समर्थक थे पिछली इलेक्शन के बाद, जिनको महिला समर्थकों को अश्लील कई ऐसी घटनाओं का और प्रताड़ना कई सहनी पड़ी तृणमूल के गुंडों के माध्यम से। और इसीलिए आज जब भारतीय जनता पार्टी का पूर्ण नेतृत्व बंगाल के उस कार्यकर्ता के साथ डट कर खड़ा है और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आज जैसा कहा कि न सिर्फ सबका साथ होगा, सबका विकास होगा, सबका हिसाब भी होगा।
आपको लगता है बंगाली अस्मिता की बार बार बात जो ममता बनर्जी करती है, इस बार वो रंग नहीं लाएगी? 15 साल की एंटी इनकम्बेंसी उनको गद्दी से उड़ाएगी।
पूछना चाहती हूँ, बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब संदेश खाली में तृणमूल के गुंडे महिलाओं का रेप कर रहे थे? बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब आरजी कार की विक्टिम को किस प्रकार से वहाँ पर अपमानित किया गया उसके परिवार को? बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब ममता दी ने पार्क स्ट्रीट की जो गैंग रेप हुआ उसको एक आम घटना बताई? बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब मुख्यमंत्री ने ये कहा कि लड़कियों को 8 बजे के बाद घर से बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहिए? बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब घुसपैठियों के समर्थन में तृणमूल कांग्रेस खड़ी रही और हिंदुस्तान के जो लीगल वोटर्स हैं उनका संरक्षण नहीं किया? बंगाली अस्मिता कहाँ थी जब ममता बंदोपाध्याय के राज में 6000 से ज्यादा कंपनियों ने बंगाल छोड़ दिया और कितने नौजवान बेरोजगार हो गए? कहाँ थी वो अस्मिता जिसकी दुहाई आज ममता जी दे रहे हैं?
स्मृति जी, एक आखिरी सवाल, उन सब लोगों को क्या जवाब देंगी जो कहती है भारतीय जनता पार्टी बाहरी पार्टी है, वो बंगाल की नहीं है, बंगाल के सेंटिमेंट नहीं समझे?
বাইরের লোককে আমরা সবাই ভারতীয়, আমরা কোথায় বাইরের লোক? যার সাথে গঠবন্ধন করেছে ওরা কোন দেশ থেকে এসেছেন? জিজ্ঞেস করা মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায়কে।
Meanwhile, talking about the other parties in Bengal, AIMIM has announced that it has ended its alliance with Humayun Kabir's AJUP. Now, the decision was made public through an official statement on the party's social media handle, and it comes after a controversial sting video that allegedly features Humayun Kabir. It had surfaced and gone viral. Now, following this, AIMIM has confirmed that it will contest the upcoming West Bengal polls independently. Here's more.
Overseas AIMIM has officially withdrawn from its alliance with Humayun Kabir's Aam Janata Unnayan Party in West Bengal. The announcement was made through a statement posted on party's official social media handle, where AIMIM said that this decision was taken after a controversial sting video which allegedly features Humayun Kabir.
इतना इमोशनल आया इनको वो स्टेट को भी तो आ रहा है, पास में झारखंड, बिहार, असम, त्रिपुरा, सब लोगों को कुछ न कुछ आने वाला है। आज 2 लाख नमाज पढ़ने के लिए वो या कोई नमाज मस्जिद में कोई कंस्ट्रक्शन शुरू नहीं हुआ, वो फरवरी मार्च में होगा शुरू, लेकिन इतना इमोशनल है वो फर्स्ट जुम्मा आएगी पिछला शुक्रवार, वो भी फ्राइडे में आ गया 1 लाख लोग, आज और डबल हो गया 2 लाख।
In the purported video, Kabir is heard discussing claims related to political links and possible electoral strategies. Following this, AIMIM stated that it would no longer continue this alliance. The party also announced that it will contest the upcoming West Bengal polls independently.
Asauddin Owaisis AIMIM party has now broken ties with AJUP's Humayun Kabir, and the move came after TMC released a video of Humayun Kabir where he was seen stating that allegedly he planned the entire move and he did alliance with AIMIM on behest of Bharatiya Janata Party to divide the Muslim voters in North Bengal. And after this, Asauddin Owaisi released a statement where he stated that the situation of minorities in West Bengal is vulnerable and such alliance cannot go ahead.
AIMIM leadership has also cancelled the planned joint campaign appearances with Humayun Kabir, and with the breakup now official, AIMIM has confirmed it will enter the West Bengal elections without any alliance partner.
हेलो लेडीज, आपके लिए है ये कंफर्टेबल सोफा, गर्मा गर्म चाय और वाईफाई। आराम फरमाइए, क्योंकि हमारा लेटेस्ट लिनन फैब्रिक कलेक्शन है ही ऐसा। वो क्या है ना, इन्हें देखने में और दिखाने में थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा। बंदों को लिनन पसंद है तो पसंद है। लिनन बाय अरविंद।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
थोड़े में खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट, स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है। स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
अभी तो कह रहा था कि अभी चीफ मिनिस्टर कह रहे थे, उससे आगे भी सभी लोग कह रहे थे कि मणिपुर में पीस आ गया। ये पीस है क्या? अगर ये पीस है तो हमें ये पीस नहीं चाहिए हमें।
ये बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट 1:05 में हुआ है। उसमें 2 बच्चे का जान गया है। 2 बच्चा, एक 5 साल का है, एक लड़की है वो तो 5 महीना का है। ये बहुत छह इंसिडेंट है। उसका माँ भी अभी भी इंजर्ड है, हॉस्पिटल में ट्रीटमेंट के लिए घायल तरीके से इंजर्ड है। ये आतंकवादी लोग हम लोग को टारगेट कर रहा है, मैतेई लोग को। इसलिए सरकार से विनती है जल्द से ये घटना के सॉल्यूशन चाहिए, इसके लिए इंसाफ चाहिए।
Hoje kuki bo mama yum da tasele bulan bulan vida
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है। सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े, चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching the special edition of the news on the situation in West Asia after several claims by Pakistan on being a mediator in the Israel-Iran war. Pakistan now seems to be heading to yet another global embarrassment. This as no Iranian team has yet arrived in Islamabad for talks. In fact, viewers, Pakistan Minister Khaja Asif chickened out after Israel's warning and deleted his post, and that in fact had mentioned something and mentioned Israel or Jews as evil. Now this post has drawn sharp reactions from Israel and questions on what sort of mediator Pakistan was. So while much was claimed by Pakistan and Pakistan media on mediation, the day is about to end. Even now, Iranian team has not been reported arriving in Islamabad. While there were earlier reports that J.D. Vance, Witkoff, Kushner will be on the table along with Iranian Parliamentary Speaker Ghalibaf and Foreign Minister Arakchi. But as of now, there is no report of any Iranian delegation arriving. So this is clear embarrassment once again for Islamabad. In fact, security was already tightened in Islamabad ahead of US-Iran so-called talks for later this week. And in fact, viewers, as we speak, these were the individuals who were to be part of this meeting. Ghalibaf, that's the Iranian Parliamentary Speaker, Foreign Minister of Iran Abbas Araghchi, J.D. Vance, Vice President, Steve Witkoff, Special Envoy, and Jared Kushner. He is the son-in-law of Trump as well. And he's, of course, a key figure there as far as the politics is concerned and the entire connection with Israel is concerned. Now, viewers, we are getting a breaking news that we are citing Iranian media reports that claim that no delegation will be heading to Pakistan. This is the latest update we have. Reports suggest that Iranian delegation has not arrived in Islamabad as Pakistan braces for the global embarrassment. Iranian media claims that Iranian officials have explicitly denied any travel or negotiations in Pakistan, calling the media claims false and baseless. So you can see this is official embarrassment, official humiliation for Pakistan. It can keep harping on its so-called global role. But Iranian media has denied outrightly that there's no Iranian team that is going to Pakistan. So that's clear embarrassment for what has been happening, viewers. First of all, that entire ceasefire, you can understand how Pakistan attempted to double-cross both the parties. And now you have more embarrassment that the so-called Islamabad talks are not even going to happen. So who was trying to peddle this news? We suspect, or we are at least sure, it's Pakistan themselves who are trying so desperately to pose as some sort of a mediator while it's just a postman. But that too, it has failed in doing. As far as we've seen the copy-paste message on Twitter, on X. We've seen the confusion regarding Lebanon. J.D. Vance has outrightly exposed what Pakistan has been doing. And now you have Iranian delegation not coming to Pakistan. Iranian media denies any Iran team heading to Pakistan. So this is global embarrassment coming for Pakistan, viewers. Lebanon continues to be pounded and we see hundreds of people dying in Lebanon. And the ceasefire is also, the terms are not clear. And in fact, we have my colleague Kasba joining us from Islamabad and Nick is joining us from Tel Aviv. This is really embarrassing. I'll just go across to Kaswar on that. Kaswar, what are you picking up? Where did this come from, if at all the Iranian team is not going to Islamabad?
Well, let me tell you that Iranian delegation Iranian officials have already arrived in Islamabad. They arrived here 1.5 hours ago. And this is the breaking news. What we are going to break, the delegation has already arrived. Pakistan has received them. Well, this is what we are getting from our sources is this is a delegation of Iranian officials, and which will be followed by the foreign minister of Iran and the speaker of Iran, who will be arriving late at night today, one thing. And second thing is, what we are getting from our sources, that the J.D. Vance, the Jared Kushner and other, Mr. Witkoff, they have embarked, they have boarded the plane, and they are mid-air as I speak to you. They are heading towards Islamabad. And yeah, you rightly pointed out there are misconceptions. There are the rumors milled or spreading on social media. But the fact is that the talks are happening. And tomorrow at 11 a.m., historic talks will begin in Islamabad. And all of the preparation have already been finalized. This is the full and final. And what I am getting from my sources that everything is set up. Iranian will be arriving late at night today. And so they will be followed by the U.S. officials, the Vice President.
So you're saying that there's a delegation that has reached Pakistan. You're saying, Kaswar, are you saying that Iranian delegation has reached Pakistan? And if at all, then who's in the team? Who's part of this team?
Well, what I have got from my sources is that the Vice President of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance, he will be joined by the son-in-law of U.S. President Trump, Mr. Jared Kushner. He has boarded the plane, and they are joined by Mr. Witkoff, the one of the trusted, the negotiator from from President of the United States Trump. This is the breaking news, but I am going to tell you, we are breaking it right now, that they have boarded the plane and they are right now on the way to Islamabad. And also the Iranian delegation will be arriving later tonight, but the officials of Iran, and I have spoken to the Iranian ambassador to Pakistan, and he has confirmed that the talks are happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Everything has been settled out. And when we talk about the Iranian delegation, Iran's the Speaker of Parliament will be joined by the Foreign Minister of Iraq, and they will be leading Iranian officials, Iranian delegation tomorrow when the talks begin, and they will be heading Iranian delegation, and they will be holding negotiation with the U.S. officials that will be obviously led by the Vice President of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance. This is confirmed. And tomorrow, the Pakistan have already announced a holiday. And tomorrow at 11 a.m. sharp, the talks will begin. This is what I have got to know so far.
Okay, Kaspar, just stay on with us. We have breaking news coming in from the war zone right now. Israeli attacks reported in southern Lebanon, causing severe destruction as ceasefire tensions are high with Iran. And Iran is saying that it wants ceasefire in Lebanon as well. But America has refuted, saying that Lebanon was not part of the deal. So Israeli strikes continue. I'll just go across to Nick Kolitin, who is live from Tel Aviv. What's really happening? If you could just tell us some details about this, these strikes in Lebanon that continue incessantly. Even northern Israel is tense, and southern Lebanon continues to be pounded. In fact, we also learned about how Israel is also targeting some ambulances and medical facilities, saying that it's actually a hideout of the Hezbollah.
The war between Israel and Lebanon continues, and Israel now trying to make as much damage as possible to Hezbollah infrastructure and to their commanders, because they understand the day after the war that can come any hour now, when the United States will say, now you are halting the war, the day after will be not so good for Israel, because there is a lot of pessimism now in the air. Israel understands that Hezbollah, although of all those attacks against them, although all those missions against them, like the pager mission, they still have enough power to project power over Israel, to continue to bombard Israeli towns. And they are continuing to do that today and in the past months, every day, every hour sometimes. And this is a frustrating situation for Israel, because even today, now that we are speaking about peace, many Israelis in the north of the country living actually in bomb shelters because they just can't continue with their life when they have just 15 to 30 seconds to find a shelter each time that there is air sirens. And this situation is really frustrating because Israel can't do nothing. The only thing that Israel can do in order to exterminate this regime of Hezbollah is to conquer the whole Lebanon country. But it is out of question that Israel will not do that for sure because they don't have enough
We have more
political
news coming
power
in
to
with
do
regards to Lebanon. In fact, what Lebanese officials have suggested is that there's a plan to attend a meeting. Lebanon plans to attend a meeting in Washington, D.C. amid the ceasefire talks to ease tensions. So somewhere down the line, I think in the next week, we are going to witness that meeting, I think. Nick, what are your sources telling you? Because even Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday had indicated that there are going to be talks, that the Lebanese government had also spoken to him, that there are going to be talks in Washington, D.C.
Definitely, there will be talks, and definitely Israel will try to find some normalization, even maybe with Lebanon. It actually can happen. Maybe the relationship can be normalized in Washington. But the big problem is that the Lebanese government and Lebanese army are not in the full control of Lebanon because Hezbollah and their force arm, and also their political arm are really strong, and they have a lot of influence on the Shia population in Lebanon, and they are in the control of Iran. Their real leaders are back in Tehran and not in Lebanon. And this is an absurd situation that we have a country that is not controlling its future. And that's why the talks in Washington, D.C. maybe can be successful. But as long as we have Hezbollah in Lebanon, maybe nothing will come out of those talks because they can continue to wage a war against Israelis. They can continue to terrorize Israel. And then Israel will need to strike back against Lebanon and against their infrastructure. So this is a really hard situation. Back to you.
Right, Kasvar, if you're still with us, Kasvar, if I can just bring you here, because what Iranian media reports are telling us, okay, I think we have lost that connection with Kasvar. So here is somewhere a stuck situation there. We understand that there are officials might be coming to Washington, to Pakistan, I beg your pardon, we do not know. But Iranian media reports say that Iran wants ceasefire in Lebanon first and then it will go ahead with any sort of talks that is ready for all kinds of scenario. What does Iran really mean? Do we see any hope? Is there any hope that there will be a breakthrough as far as the Lebanon front is concerned? Nick, that question is to you.
I think that there is hope, and definitely many Israelis, they want to live in peace finally, and they have a lot of expectations that maybe this time something will be different. But in order for that to happen, we also need countries like France that have a lot of control over Lebanon to joint effort to find this peace solution that can stabilize the region. And as long as we don't have this international pressure and the international will to put an end to this endless conflict in the Middle East, maybe it will not be enough just the meeting of the government of Lebanon and the government of Israel, and even the United States. They doesn't have enough power themselves alone to project enough pressure to put an end to this endless war. That's why I'm not sure that those talks can really put an end to this conflict. They can maybe normalize their relationship between Israel and Lebanon, that's for sure. But as long as Hezbollah is in Lebanon and the Lebanese army is not trying to dismantle them, to disarm them, and to destroy their commandership, it will continue, unfortunately. Back to you.
In fact, Hezbollah Secretary General is also saying that Israel has not met its ground objectives and that he's dismissed any possibilities, just the latest coming in, of any sort of reverting to earlier terms of concessions, stating that Hezbollah will continue the fight and what it calls in pursuit of sovereignty. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us. We have another piece of evidence that shows how Islamabad is once again in for embarrassment, this time. Again, the usual figure, Defence Minister Khaja Asif. Now, a major diplomatic row erupted after Khaja Asif made a highly controversial remark targeting Israel, calling it evil and a curse for humanity, while also using deeply offensive language to describe the Jews, the Jewish state. Now, Israel reacted strongly to that, terming these statements blatantly anti-Semitic rhetoric. In fact, you can see the Prime Minister, we've seen that even the PMO, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, condemned Pakistan Defence Minister's call for Israel's annihilation, saying this is not a statement that can be tolerated from any government. And you know, Pakistan keeps doing this. We've seen that. It keeps calling for destruction. It's the most evil state, keeps calling others evil. And everybody, of course, is reacting to that. Israel views were very gravely blatant anti-Semitic. And we can see this is another reaction that has come in from the government, from the ministers, from different leaders. And then what happened was that Khaja Asif deleted that tweet. He deleted that tweet as they keep doing that. So that you can see, that's the post. So that's the post, if you see, Israel is evil and a curse for humanity. He called that and also talked about European Jews burn in hell. That sort of language is to get rid of European Jews burn in hell. That's the ending words, if you could read them. And then he deletes the post after Netanyahu's warning. So Pakistan clearly doesn't understand what to say, what to write, and then it goes back like a coward. And viewers, we continue to get you more updates directly from the war zone. And we have more reports that we are showing you right now. In fact, let's take a look at this war of words more closely in this report that we've just filed for you.
A sharp diplomatic confrontation between Pakistan and Israel. Khaja Asif, Defence Minister of Pakistan, who claims mediation in peace talks, triggered it. After continuous bombardment in Lebanon, which Israel claims is the targeting of Hezbollah hideouts, Khaja Asif made a post. Asif described Israel as evil and a curse for humanity. He called it a cancerous state, remarks that Israel condemned as blatant anti-Semitic rhetoric. Israel has hit back strongly, warning that such statements are blatant anti-Semitic blood libels from a country positioning itself as a mediator in ongoing peace efforts. Israel's response was immediate and unsparing. Israel said it will defend itself against terrorists who vow its destruction. Pakistan and Israel have no formal diplomatic relations. Islamabad has historically aligned itself with the Palestinian cause and does not recognize Israel as a state. But Khaja Asif's comments are particularly jarring for those who had placed any hopes in Islamabad's mediation role.
And we continue to get you reports from the war zone. In the latest, we have a report from Tehran as we show you how Iranians on the streets are reiterating that are talking about the ceasefire and the terms on Lebanon.
مردم لبنان سلام. Today is day 40 of the war in Iran and the second day of the temporary ceasefire in Tehran. I can see the crowds are chanting we will never leave Lebanon alone. لبنان ما اینجا جمع شدیم که بگیم یا در کنار شما آتش بس داریم یا در کنار شما می‌جنگیم. ما تو غمتون شریکیم، کنارتونیم، باهاتونیم و تا آخرین قطره خونمون در کنارتون میمونیم و با هم دیگه می‌جنگیم.
I'm Lebanese. I live in Iran, and I've come here tonight to stand with my people, stand with the Lebanese people. And what I see today, tonight, that the Iranian people are standing with us. They're not leaving us alone.
مطمئن باشید که ما اینجا هستیم که از شما حمایت کنیم. We are here in one of Tehran's main square. People are raising Hezbollah's flag to show their solidarity with Lebanon. They are chanting that a ceasefire without Lebanon would be a betrayal of Iran. Let's see what people say.
سلام مردم عزیز لبنان. ما یادمون نمیره که اسرائیل به ما حمله کرد، شما پشت ما در اومدید.
از اعماق وجودمون کنار لبنان هستیم، همونجور که لبنان کنار ما بوده توی این 40 روز.
لبنان هیچ وقت از ایران جدا نمیشه.
از اینجا به مردم لبنان میگم تا وقتی که ایرانی هست هیچ لبنانی تنها نیست.
ما کنار فرزندان سید حسن هستیم.
لبنان بالاخره آزاد میشه.
هر زخم و درد شما زخم و درد ما هسته. تا پای پای شما وایسادیم، فکر نکن شما رو تنها میذاریم. جون شما جون خودمونه.
And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer arrived in the United Arab Emirates today, second stop on a Gulf tour aimed at bolstering a fragile ceasefire in the conflict that is still underway. Visit follows a day in Saudi Arabia. Starmer presses regional allies on the need for a lasting and durable peace. In fact, he also said that he is fed up of what's been happening because of Trump and Putin.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer visits UAE, signalling support for Gulf partners to drive diplomatic momentum amid a volatile ceasefire agreement. Ceasefire that came after weeks of sustained missile and drone attacks that targeted Gulf nations, shocking global energy markets.
I think the mood is very much one of shock that they were attacked in the first place. Because, of course, they weren't attacking Iran, and the intensity of some of the attacks. Relief that there's now a ceasefire. I think a general sense that it's fragile, that there's work to do in relation to it. And then a lot of reflection and discussion, me with them, about the work we did over the last 6 to 7 weeks together in collective self-defense, the capabilities.
While in the UAE, Starmer also met with British military personnel who had been stationed in the region throughout the conflict. Starmer praised servicemen and women, noted that many pilots had been in action within hours of the first strikes.
And an opportunity, frankly, for me to say thank you to our personnel who are out here, who've been, many of the pilots have been working from about 2 hours after the conflict started. So moving forward, but I'm very clear that one is very important. We stand with our long-standing allies and be here, showing our support for them, reflecting on the work we're doing together, and for them a sense that we're a friend that's come at this time to have these really important discussions with them and to make sure this ceasefire is a permanent ceasefire and that the Strait of Hormuz is open. And that takes more than just words, it takes a lot of action.
Starmer also spoke to Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Jeddah. Though Keir Starmer welcomed the 2-week pause, he also said that the ceasefire is in early days and more work needs to be done.
On the other side of this very short break, we get you how the BJP today made the bold promises for Bengal, saying that the UCC will be implemented in the next 6 months in Bengal if BJP comes to power. Also, other central policies will be implemented.
Where is he? 4 घंटे से वेट कर रही हूँ उसका. कहाँ है वो?
अब भी गया.
Let's continue with the shirt.
Sure. बंदे को लिनन पसंद है तो पसंद है. बोलो आप क्या बनवाओगे? लिनन बाय अरविंद.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा राजा और मसाला
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
We are entering a very dangerous inflection point in this war. From here in onwards, either things could escalate beyond control or there could be a surprise ceasefire. He is very fond of trying to make the world hang on to his every word, pearls of wisdom. But the last speech was a great disappointment. Everybody was hoping that he would announce an off-ramp, a ceasefire, and then finish this war because the world is sick and tired of the shenanigans of Donald Trump and his mad capers, his insane wars in the Middle East, which have created a global economic disaster which will worsen by the day, by every day that this war
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर्नब मसाला।
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है। स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा
राजा और मसाला।
अभी तो कह रहा था कि अभी चीफ मिनिस्टर कह रहे थे, उससे आगे भी सभी लोग कह रहे थे कि मणिपुर में पीस आ गया। ये पीस है क्या? अगर ये पीस है तो हमें ये पीस नहीं चाहिए हमें।
ये बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट 1:05 में हुआ है। उसमें 2 बच्चे का जान गया है। 2 बच्चा एक 5 साल का है, एक लड़की है वो तो 5 महीना का है। ये बहुत छह इंसिडेंट है। उसका माँ भी अभी भी इंजर्ड है, हॉस्पिटल में ट्रीटमेंट के लिए घायल तरीके से इंजर्ड है। ये आतंकवादी लोग हम लोग को टारगेट कर रहा है, मैती लोग को, इसलिए सरकार से विनती है जल्द से ये घटना के सॉल्यूशन चाहिए, इसके लिए इंसाफ चाहिए।
Hoje kuki ye bo mama yum da tasele menang peluang kita asal kapan nyaw re hoje yang tu nama tadi nama je hoje asal kau re kan nama sesuai orang sesuai hoje aku re ini barang sesuai je mama
뻥끗이 경로비 좀 어떤 비비오봐. 거기 좀 따니네가 거기 가면 돼요. 지면 저도 뻥끗하게가 뻥끗이 경로비 좀 어떤 비비오봐.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan Sen. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, we put the spotlight on the mediation talks that are going to take place in Islamabad. A fragile truce. How long will it really last when the main stakeholders are not even on the negotiating table? Not just this, we're also getting you a big global voice. Where does NATO really stand on this entire issue? And with the threats that have essentially been issued by America, how exactly are NATO countries really responding to that? All this and much more in this edition of This Is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Pakistan Defence Minister chickens out and deletes tweet on Israel. Pakistan faces global embarrassment after seeking attacks on Jews. Israel hits back at the Pakistani minister, casting doubts on the country's neutrality as a peace arbitrator. US Vice President J.D. Vance departs for scheduled US talks with Iran in Islamabad, says he's optimistic that upcoming negotiations. He noted that US President Trump has laid out clear guidelines for negotiations, while also warning Tehran against trying to play the United States. Head of Iran's Parliament National Security Commission now says under a parliamentary proposal, Iran to charge transit fees through the Strait of Hormuz in its national currency, Riyal. Israel continues to strike Lebanon, targets the southern Lebanese town of Kfar Rumman. The attacks comes amid negotiations taking place between US and Iran in Islamabad. Top NATO official speaks to Republic. Belgium ambassador to NATO reveals NATO's position on US-Iran war. Full interview coming up on This Is Exclusive. Well, the stage has been set for further mediation talks between Iran and the United States of America in Pakistan. Security has also been ramped up across Islamabad with road closures, increased troop deployment and restricted access around the key venues as preparations continue. US delegation, in fact, is being led by Vice President J.D. Vance alongside Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner. Now, according to officials familiar with the planning, this is what they intend to do, perhaps on the negotiating table coming up with what has been proposed by Iran. There is, however, a lot of uncertainty that continues to hang over the talks. Iran has essentially denied reports that any formal negotiating delegation has actually left Tehran, and has made it clear that its participation is conditional on the cessation of Israeli strikes in Lebanon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the current situation as far as the so-called mediation talks are concerned. One, as far as the 10-point proposal of Iran is concerned, it did appear that the Americans had actually accepted it, and that's what the Iranians did actually say, that their position has been accepted. Soon after, under much pressure, President Trump says that none of it has been accepted. In fact, these are part of the negotiations that are going on, which basically includes, one, as far as uranium enrichment is concerned. The second is control over Strait of Hormuz. Third was with regards to whether at all United States of America is going to lift sanctions that was imposed on Iran, which had a debilitating effect on the ground. How exactly would things really change, and whether at all this ceasefire will at all hold to begin with, when one of the main stakeholders, that is Israel, is not even on the negotiating table? And just hours before all of this was supposed to happen, you've had Pakistani Defense Minister, the motor mouth, Khwaja Asif, actually putting out a tweet and saying that Israel is, however, a curse to humanity. That's what the Pakistani Defense Minister, Khwaja Asif, had to say. Let me now play this out. What J.D. Vance, who also indicated that this negotiation has been done in bad faith. Now, what was the indication that he was given? This is what U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance had to say just before he took off.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. Look, we're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The President has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see. So I hope you guys have a safe flight. We'll certainly take some questions later on. But for now, let's get on the plane and hit the road. Thank you all.
Let me also bring in my colleague Nick, who's joining us from Tel Aviv, giving us a sense of what's really happening on the ground. Nick, we spoke earlier today where you essentially indicated that Israelis have made it very clear there is no negotiation to begin with. Where do they really stand? Because it seems that there has been domestic pressure also on Benjamin Netanyahu with regards to the war to begin with.
That's right. There is a lot of pressure on Netanyahu from the right wing of his government, and also even some politicians from the opposition and the people that living on the north, all saying the same. You should continue the war against Hezbollah because we can't live under this constant threat in the north. And on the other hand, Netanyahu doesn't really have a lot of choice. If Trump will tell Netanyahu to stop, he will halt those attacks. That's why the situation right now is really pessimistic for Netanyahu and his government, because the feeling in the air in Israel is that nothing really changed in the past 40 days. But after this war, Israel has less legitimation around the world. And also friends of Israel now turning their back on Israel. And the threat from Iran continues to be imminent. We have been told in the summer that the nuclear program of Iran was obliterated. But now, again, somehow there were a new threat that 11 atomic bombs could be made just in 1 week. So now Israelis are confused what is going on. Is the threat of atomic weapons is past us, or we still will live with that? And what happened also to the ballistic missiles? Because we saw that Iran shooting just one ballistic missile with this cluster illegal munition, and it is spread all around. It's hit, impacting about dozens of different places just from one rocket. And nobody understands how many more rockets Iran has right now. And of course, how much they can produce if now there will be a ceasefire. That's why the situation here in Israel is pretty dire. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Nick, for bringing us up to speed as far as Israel's position is concerned. Thank you very much. Should we focus now to the other big story and the exclusive coming up this evening. Earlier today, I spoke to Belgium's NATO ambassador. How exactly is NATO countries really responding to the threats that have been issued by President Trump? The same President Trump who had literally begged NATO countries to participate in the war. That's when NATO countries did say that it's not their war, resulting in an infuriated President Trump saying that I don't need NATO. For the first time, an official position on how exactly does NATO countries really look at the current situation and where does the alliance really stand today? An exclusive interview with Belgium's NATO ambassador. Many have called this war that has been waged by President Trump as absolutely unnecessary, unjust, and even immoral. In the process of this entire war, many felt that the Americans have been completely isolated. A case in point is the relationship with NATO. When President Trump, who basically started by literally begging NATO countries to join in the war, to essentially beginning by saying that I don't need the NATO anymore. And I'm even contemplating of getting out of NATO. An alliance which has essentially been built around what was seen as perhaps the need of the hour and also securing the region. Joining us on this broadcast is a very, very special guest. He's the Belgium ambassador to NATO, Ambassador Willem van der Woord. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us on this broadcast. Indeed, a pleasure to have you on Republic TV. I want to straight away begin by asking you, in terms of where does the NATO really stand as far as this war is concerned? And the fact of the matter is that you all have come together and largely seen whether at all there was a need for the war in the first place.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sen. Well, maybe to start with your last question, that is why this war was started. I cannot speak, of course, for the American government, but we all agree in the NATO and among Western allies, members of NATO, that the situation in Iran had become a serious threat. So we have been asking for many years to reduce the number of missiles, to stop the missile program, to stop the development of nuclear arms, and to stop supporting terrorist groupings all over the world, and especially in the Middle East, to destabilize local societies. So these have been worries consistent over many, many years, supported by all European governments and member nations of NATO. And so that is actually, it does not mean this gave a green light as a NATO operation, but that is the background against which the American administration and American President Trump launched the hostilities in Iran. And let me add maybe one important element to give you a further piece of context. And that is that NATO, and that should be well understood, we think, is a defensive alliance, defending the territory of the members of the allies against external threats. So it has no offensive implications or objectives. It is a purely defensive organization focused on the area of the membership of the alliance.
Ambassador, you begin by saying that for a very long time, NATO countries have been talking about Iran's missile program and the need for a reduction in it. Iranians say that they were in talks with the United States of America. A negotiation was basically underway. And while the negotiation was on, it is the Americans who backstabbed them. And such is the situation today is because of Trump's war. the world is reeling under immense pressure. I want to then ask you, Ambassador, if NATO countries do not wield any influence over the Americans, and particularly in the situation like it is right now, where does the alliance really stand then?
Well, as allies, we are in constant discussion, and so there have been talks about also already in the past, what shall we do with Iran? But at some point, individual allies, like in this case the United States, took this decision alone, saying that they came to a point where they felt threatened, and they went over to action. And so this was not a NATO decision, and yeah, but of course, a lot of allies were involved because they were asked for support, which many of them, if not most, gave, but not all. And of course, that caused some discussions and even a small rift in the alliance. But it is not a proper NATO. It is not a NATO action or maneuver. No, it is a military operation started by one ally, the most important ally of NATO, to be very clear. And after years of discussions on what to do with Iran, how to contain the missile program, the nuclear program, and so on. But it is, of course, a matter of discussion to what extent NATO allies, as individual countries, can support this operation, and that is also a judgment which has to be made by every ally in itself.
Ambassador, is there a sense of unease within the NATO allies right now, particularly when you all call this as a war of America? It is not a war of NATO. So does that bring in the sense of unease right now when one of your most important allies has actually called you completely redundant? President Trump has said that I'm contemplating coming out of NATO. How do the allies really see this kind of a statement being made? And more importantly, would anyone then take this alliance perhaps seriously?
Well, I think it would be foolish to deny that there is a real tension in the alliance. It's about how to fulfill different objectives, the national American objectives, but also the collective ambitions of NATO. So I think a great deal of member states of NATO or of allies are willing to lend some support, especially to open up the Strait of Hormuz, because the respect of free navigation is for all of us an important principle, and that was blocked as a reaction to the attacks by the United States by Iran. And so there is already a coalition of the willing forming, comprising a great number of NATO allies, not all, and also some external states to take concrete action. But for that, of course, we need first a halting of or a cessation of the hostilities. And so it cannot go together. We are not armed to confront Iranian counterfire against attempts to open up the Strait of Hormuz. But once a ceasefire that is durable is concluded, and a kind of diplomatic framework is concluded, ideally, I say, a mandate by the United Nations, then I think so a lot of very concrete support to open up the Strait of Hormuz and to organize again the free flow of navigation will be organized.
Ambassador, we are talking on a day when there are talks that are going to take place in Islamabad, but it starts perhaps on the wrong foot. You have Pakistani Defense Minister Khwaja Asif calling the Israelis a curse to humanity. Then you have multiple reports, Western media reports essentially suggesting that, Pakistan to a certain extent was coerced by the Americans to broker the deal. Iranians say that there is no deal whatsoever. The fact of the matter is that there have been no direct talks to take place, and J.D. Vance has now called this negotiation a negotiation in bad faith. Where does this put perhaps the mediation How is the NATO countries really viewing the mediation talks that are taking place in Pakistan? Can Pakistan really be relied upon?
But of course, we are not involved directly in these negotiations, so we can only rely on external information and sources. But it is clear that first, it is good that negotiations have started. So we are very happy that this happened, and we are grateful to the role of Pakistan. As I said, we are not involved in the details of all this, but the fact that talks have started under very difficult conditions is a good thing. And secondly, that these negotiations start difficultly, I think is quite normal. These are traumatic experiences, and it will take, I think, a little bit of time before a normal, regular negotiation pattern is found, and results of a clear negotiations will be reached. So, I mean, I think we should be happy that so for the moment military operations seem to cease, not entirely, but seem to cease, and that serious talks are being started.
Ambassador, do you believe that the alliance, NATO alliance, has taken a massive hit? And there is, as you rightly pointed out, that there's no denial of the fact that there would be an unease when one of your main allies has made this kind of a statement. What's the roadmap ahead? Do you think that the relationship with America can be repaired? And if that's the hope, then how exactly would that happen?
Well, I wouldn't speak of a massive hit, as you said, but of course we cannot deny that we have now had turbulent weeks, difficult weeks of discussion, and that is quite normal, I would say, in this kind of organizations of pre-democratic liberal countries with public opinions. You have parliamentary procedures. In one country, you need a parliamentary assent or a green light before you begin with any kind of external military operations. In others, you don't. It is a prerogative of the executive power. So it's a wide variety of local situations. So there will be a need of talks and of clarification. And I'm not too pessimistic that the situation will clear up in the next weeks and months. It is, in an alliance, there must always be a balance between benefits and efforts. And so the allies, and especially the European allies in Canada, have understood that in the past years they did not do enough to uphold their military posture against the main threat in the European space, which is Russia. Let us be very clear about that. A war, a very, very bloody war, is going on the Eastern Front in Ukraine, and so NATO defined Russia as a main threat to our security, and the fact that the war is still raging on, I think, is the best illustration of that. So we must, the allies agree that more has to be done to increase the posture, invest more in defense, so as to have a credible deterrence against anybody outside NATO wanting to invade or attack our alliance. So that is at one side of the comparison. And so, I mean, the benefits have to be, the efforts have to be shared, but also the benefits have to be well understood. And as I said in the beginning, so NATO is a defensive alliance, and it's often misunderstood also in North America. It is not a tool for a sitting government or here in this case the President of the United States to be used at will in operations which are important for the national security of a country. So it is primarily, it's the defense of the territory of the alliance, of the member states of the alliance. It is a defensive alliance. And so that has probably to be explained a bit more again. And for that you need long hours of talks and of exchanges, and as much as possible in a friendly atmosphere, as allies really do.
Ambassador, I want to end this interview by taking one final question from you with regards to what if the mediation that is taking place currently in Pakistan does not bear the fruit? And perhaps with several countries today bearing the brunt of this war, would certainly want this war to come to an end. In that case, would any of the NATO countries perhaps step forward, playing the role of a mediator, hoping that you are able to bring all the stakeholders on the negotiating table? Because today we are talking about a mediation taking place minus one of the main stakeholders, that is Israel. Israel is not on the negotiating table as far as the current talks in Islamabad is concerned.
Well, I think that, first of all, it's difficult to predict in these unstable times how the situation will evolve. So I will be very prudent in expressing myself about this. But I presume that NATO members will try to have involved the United Nations in this. So be it through the Security Council or through actions with the Secretary General, Mr. Guterres. It is not a guarantee for success, but we continue thinking that the United Nations offer a forum, a neutral forum aimed at restoring peace. And if the esteemed efforts by Pakistan do not bring concrete results, indeed, then we have to find other avenues. And so the United Nations path could be one of the possibilities.
Well, Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast and putting this into perspective.
Thank you very much. With pleasure. Bye-bye.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
Correcto. The taste of success.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Republic TV. I'm Gesu Bharadwaj. And viewers, let's get you a roundup of all the important stories that we're tracking today. But beginning first, in a major development in one of India's longest, most complex terror cases, Lieutenant Colonel Shrikant Purohit has now been promoted to the rank of a brigadier, marking a significant personal and professional turning point. Now, this comes months after a special NIA court on the 31st of July 2025 acquitted him in the Malegaon blast case, bringing an end to a 17-year-long legal battle. Once accused and imprisoned for 9 years, Lieutenant Colonel Purohit has now been cleared of all charges, a verdict many are calling a decisive legal turnaround. From being branded a terrorist to now being reinstated in service and promoted, the journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. In an exclusive conversation with Republic, his wife Aparna Purohit shared her emotions and sense of vindication after years of struggle. Listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the longest time, almost 17 years, he's been the victim of incarceration, and he's been fighting a very silent battle in all these years while keeping his dignity and honor intact. In fact, one would say he's one of India's biggest fighters, winning one legal battle after the other. And we are privileged to be joined by his wife today because he will not go on record, he's a serving officer. The wife of Colonel Purohit, Aparna Purohit, is joining us live on a day when we break the news of Colonel Purohit being promoted to the brigadier rank. First of all, Aparna ji, thank you for speaking to Republic TV and